What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing our Week 6 preview for the NFL season. And so there was no Thursday night game this week, so there's nothing to talk about there. There's been so many scheduling changes with the league, with all these different positive tests from around the league. So I'm a little, confused as to how the season shapes up later on. I didn't really take the time to see how the season shapes up because of all these changes. So I'll be figuring this out as I make these videos, so that's kind of interesting. Here's a disclaimer before the video. There are 4 teams with the bye week for Week 6, and they are the Las Vegas Raiders, the New Orleans Saints, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Seattle Seahawks. So just keep that in mind for this preview. And so for Week 6, our first game here is Houston at Tennessee. I have Tennessee going over here. They beat the Bills last week. The Texans just aren't looking too good. I mean, they got their first win with Romeo Crennel as head coach, and their first win of the season. And they looked okay, but I just don't see them going over the Titans in this one. The next game is the Bengals at the Colts. I think the Colts are pretty easily going to win this one. If the Bengals upset them, then that's crazy, and then the Colts aren't as good of a team as I thought they were this year, but who knows. But the Bengals aren't the best team right now. I don't see them doing too well this year, but I think they are on the upslope of a rebuild. I think in the next couple of years they could be a really good team. But there's so much competition in the AFC North right now that we'll get into later. It's not likely that they're going to win this game or many more this year, honestly, unless they play some really bad teams. Not sure what their schedule is like, so we'll have to see how that turns out. So the next game is the Falcons at the Vikings. Vikings are 1-4. Falcons are 0-5. It's not. Neither are good teams, but I think the Vikings are significantly better. I think the Vikings are going to pretty easily take this win here. Falcons just haven't been able to get on their feet in terms of keeping a lead or just staying as a complete team for the entirety of the game. It's pretty evident that firing Dan Quinn was the best move they could have done. I believe this is the first game that they're going to play with him gone. I believe they fired him after last week's game, if I'm not mistaken. So this should be pretty interesting. So the next game is the Broncos at the Patriots. This was actually supposed to happen last week, but Stephon Gilmore tested positive, and so the Patriots had to shut down their facilities, and so the game just got postponed for another week. And it's like short schedule changes like this are why I have confidence that the NFL is going to be able to do a full season. But again, I don't think they have much of a choice in, I think they're going to have to add a couple extra weeks at the end of the season. However that's going to shape up, we'll have to see. So, yeah, Denver, New England. Denver's just riddled with injuries, and the Patriots have Cam Newton back. So I think the Patriots are going to pretty soundly win this one. I don't see the Broncos putting up too much of a fight in this game. The next game is Washington at New York. New York Giants, that is. I don't know. These are two very unimpressive teams. So, I guess I'll just go with football team getting their second win of the season. I don't know, man. These are two really bad teams. I can't really pick a winner here, but they're both. This is a division game for the NFC East. I don't know. Washington's not that great offensively. They're pretty good defensively, but they kind of slowed down since the week 1. And then the Giants are just kind of unimpressive all around. There's not a ton of upside to that team except for the corner they brought in. I don't quite remember the guy's name. I'll have to check up on that. So the player I was thinking of was James Bradbury. He's been having a good season. I knew that's what his name was. I just didn't want to say it and sound like a dumbass, so that's why I had to fact check that. So, yeah, James Bradbury's who I'm thinking of. He's having a really good year. He's not allowing too many yards. I'm not entirely sure what his stats are, but that's pretty much that. I would say this season at least, he's their best player. Just Daniel Jones cannot hold on to the football, and when he's not throwing picks, he's fumbling the ball. It's just, I don't know. If I were a Giants fan, I wouldn't be too sold on him right now. The turnovers are not okay. We thought he'd be better about it in his second year, and so far he just hasn't shown improvement in that department. So we'll have to see where that goes from there, but I have Washington winning this one, I guess. I'm not really sure. The next game is the Ravens at the Eagles. So I have the Ravens winning this one. The Eagles put up a pretty good fight against the Steelers last week. It was a fun game. I had a lot of fun watching that game. But the Ravens are going to mow over them, I think. It's just Lamar has gone downhill a bit. And when I say that, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. But like last week, I think he had something like 3 yards on 2 rushes. Like he didn't run the ball much, and he wasn't very successful when he did. It was kind of weird. And then he didn't have very good passing stats either, but they still won because it's the Bengals. They held the Bengals to 3 points, but it's interesting. The Ravens are definitely not as good as they were last year, and I kind of saw that coming, and they've already lost a game. I don't think this time last year they had lost a game yet. But I still have them beating the Eagles here. I think the Eagles will put up a good fight. I think it might be a closer game than people would think, but I have the Ravens winning. Alright, this next game is the one I'm obviously most excited for as a Steelers fan. It's the Browns at the Steelers, and so this is the first game between the Browns and Steelers with Myles Garrett back since the helmet incident. My opinion on him has definitely gotten better since he's playing super well this year. It's going to be interesting. I feel like players on the Browns are making it more of a storyline than it actually is, because players on the Steelers and even Coach Tomlin have talked about how they're not going to focus about that because it's unimportant. They're just going to worry about the football game. Myles Garrett says he wants to talk to Rudolph. I don't know if that's going to end very well. I agree that Rudolph started it, but Myles Garrett obviously took it way too far by hitting him in the head with his own helmet. That's just my stance. But the huge question mark, and I just found this out today, was that Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry were both questionable for the game, and Baker Mayfield's playing with a rib injury. So it's gonna be interesting. If the Browns don't have those pieces on offense, I don't think they're gonna be very good, because Odell and Landry have been shining a lot this year. But if they're both gone, I just don't. I mean, they have Austin Hooper and David Njoku at tight end, but I don't really know any other Browns receivers off the top of my head. So I'm sure they'll be able to step up decently, but I don't think they have as much of a chance against the Steelers without those two guys. Because, honestly, this is probably the first, game between the Browns and the Steelers since the Browns came back in '99 where it's going to be a competitive game if all the key players are still there. I'm actually really excited for this. I'm proud of the Browns for actually stepping it up, and it looks like the coaching and the GM change was what they needed to be good. It looks like the egos on the team are in check, which is good. I gotta commend them for that. I'm proud of them for finally being able to have a winning record for the first time in a long time. So that's pretty cool. I have the Steelers going over, though, in the end. I think we're just a more complete team, and there's not as many question marks, especially injury-wise, because Dave DeCastro's out, but Kevin Dotson, the rookie, is still very good. He's like one of the highest-graded pass-blocking offensive linemen by Pro Football Focus, which is pretty cool, I think. Dotson filled in well against Denver, and then Chukwuma Okorafor is really good at right tackle, so I think we're going to be okay. I do think we'll run more tight end sets to block Garrett, but we'll just have to see how that goes. And again, I'm sorry I'm rambling about this game. It's just I have a bigger interest in this one because it's got my team in it. So, yeah, the Steelers going over the Browns in this one. All right, the next game is Chicago at Carolina. So, this one is a little interesting. The Bears are coming off a Thursday Night Football win over the Buccaneers last week, which was a pretty good game, but they pretty narrowly won it. It was kind of a sloppy game because there's a lot of penalties. But Khalil Mack was a huge part of that win. He got to Tom Brady quite a bit. And Carolina's on a win streak, and that's the thing. I think they're going to run through the Bears here. I think the Bears still have the potential to be a playoff team this year, which is not something I would have thought before the season started, but they've been playing like a playoff team, so who knows. But I have Carolina getting the win here. So the next game is the Lions at the Jaguars. Pretty, unimpressive matchup here. I don't have a lot to say about it. Other than I'm going to just go with the Lions here. Not going to be too impactful of a game. Probably not going to tune into it, but I will keep up with it. So I have the Lions winning here. The next game is the Jets at the Dolphins. Another pretty uneventful one, but the Dolphins are coming off a double-digit win over the 49ers, which was a huge upset. But if you tuned into the channel last week, you will know that I predicted that. So just saying, you heard it here first. So, in that case, I definitely have the Dolphins going over the Jets here. They can beat a team like the 49ers. They can definitely beat a team like the Jets, who is, I would probably say inarguably the worst team in football right now, if we're being honest. Pretty terrible. So I have the Dolphins going there. The next game is the Packers at the Buccaneers. This is one of the more interesting matchups of the week. Because it's Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady, but Tom Brady's in a different place this time. So I have the Packers winning. They're just on too much of a tear right now. And then you have Tampa Bay, who are coming off a Thursday Night Football loss to the Bears. I don't know, man. Brady has thrown 2 pick sixes this year, which is pretty bad. But obviously it's better than Jameis Winston was last year. It's interesting. I don't know. The Buccaneers play very well and then very poorly back-to-back, and it's just kind of hard to judge this team. I think they'll still be a playoff team this year. They're pretty damn good, especially with all the receiving threats that Brady has to use. But I just have Green Bay winning here. I think Rodgers is going to be firing on all cylinders, and more so than Brady will this week. You know, maybe Brady will end up having better stats at the end of the season. I doubt it. Rodgers is just playing like his MVP self again. So that's why I have the Packers winning this one. So the next game this is the primetime game for Sunday. This is the Rams at the Niners. This is an interesting one because this is the Rams' first real test on defense because they haven't Aaron Donald is the sack leader by 1.5. He has 7.5 sacks, and I know the second place person has 6. I'm not quite sure who it is though. But they also have not played a good offensive line until now. You know, the Niners have 2 really good tackles. It's going to be interesting. You know, they might play Donald more on the inside, but I'm not sure. And then defensively, the Niners are decent, but not great. So I don't know how they'll match up with the Rams offense. This should be a pretty fun game. I'm definitely looking forward to this. I'm kind of glad it's the primetime one, because this is one I want to tune into a little more than some of the other ones. So it's nice that I won't have to watch another game over it and miss out on it. I'm glad this game's going to be able to get my full attention, and I'm not going to have to worry about other games instead of that one. So that's going to be good. And so now to Monday, there are 2 games, just like there has been the past 2 weeks. We have Kansas City versus Buffalo, and this one's really hard to predict. This is another one I'm really excited for. 2 really good teams. This is obviously the gameplay you're watching right now as well. I think I'm going to have the Bills winning here. I know they're coming off a loss to the Titans, but the Raiders beat the Chiefs last week as well. So they're both coming off losses, which were their first of the season. But I just think the Bills are going to play better because they have a better defense than the Chiefs. I don't know. In this game, I feel like the Bills are going to step up more, especially because it's at home. And again, I don't know if they're having fans or not, but if they do, then that's going to help a lot because they have a really rowdy fan base. So I have the Bills taking the win here. I don't consider it an upset. I think these are probably the 2 best teams in the AFC. You know, you could add the Ravens in there too, but I think these are 2 of the top ones. So I have Buffalo taking the win here. And the next game is Arizona at Dallas. And this one's a little harder to call because Dallas is forced to start a game without Dak Prescott after he shattered his ankle, which was just terrible, man. You feel so bad for the guy. He was playing his best football, by far. But I feel like Kyler Murray is just going to come through and tear apart that Dallas defense that really isn't that good, if we're being honest. And Andy Dalton's going to be back into starting, but this time for another team. He played pretty well at the end of the last week's game against the Giants, but it's just, I don't know. I don't see Dalton taking the win over the Cardinals here, so I have the Cardinals winning. And so my bad, I ended that last part off in sounding like I was trying to lead into something there, but I didn't realize that that's actually the end of the games for this week. Last week there was a Tuesday game, so I don't know why I just kind of in my head thought that there was another one this week. But anyway, that's going to do it for this week. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to drop a like if you did. This one was a little shorter than most of them. So hopefully we can stay in that groove because I don't like making longer ones for this. I mean, if you guys enjoy them, let me know. I mean, please do leave a comment if you feel that way, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys next week. Alright, peace.